down the field. Happy tossing dimes, cup $1 million deal. Fantasy football, better know it's real. Tune into the podcast, tell us how you feel. We be going live, best believe we talk.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Football from Up North podcast. I am riding solo today. It's Clayton here, the host. Wanted to jump on here. It is, unfortunately, I got to do a recap show without the afternoon games really being finished. The majority of them are done, but I have hockey tonight, so I got to get this kind of done out early. And Habby, unfortunately, wasn't able to join me, so here I am talking to myself, which is really weird because I've never actually done it. So I got to pour a nice stiff rum for you that can see that on YouTube. And just going to pound this out here, a quick 25, 30-minute episode just to let you guys know what has happened in week 1 of the NFL. Exciting games nonetheless, but to start off, we're going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles and Detroit Lions with a nice victory by the Eagles. Detroit didn't actually look too bad today, but a few takeaways I got from this is A.J. Brown is always open. That guy was dominant today. Caught 10 of 13 targets for 155 yards. Big, huge addition for Jalen Hurts. When Jalen Hurts needed a big play, A.J. Brown was the guy that they went to. So obviously you can fire A.J. Brown up in as your wide receiver one moving forward in fantasy. On the Detroit side of the ball, we got DeAndre Swift. Man, did he look lightning today. 15 rushes for 144 yards, 9.6 yards per carry with a touchdown. That's insane to me. Did notice, though, you got to be... I mean, you're starting him no matter what. He's your running back one. If you did draft him, you're starting him. But, I mean, to me, a guy that like Swift should be receiving at least 20-plus touches a game. We saw him many times run down. They ran him right down to the, into the red zone. And all of a sudden we saw Jamal Williams step in there, which did have a couple touchdowns today. I don't even know what his stats are. I'll look him up, but 15 for 144. Jamal Williams had 11 for 29 and 2 touchdowns. He vultured both of those touchdowns from Swift after Swift ran down there, but something you should keep an eye on. It's going to happen more often than not in this off air during this year, but either way, Swift is a definite running back one. And Jamal Williams, I think if he's going to be seeing double-digit touches a game, you may want to roll him out there in a flex-worthy position. Just in my opinion. He did caught his lone target for 2 yards today. Jamal Williams did. And also on the Philly side, on top of that, I should touch on the whole running back situation. We weren't quite sure what was going to happen with that. We did see Sanders have a great game, 13 touches for 96 yards. It was Hurts, unfortunately, that led in rushes, which we expected, the type of quarterback that he is. But the biggest thing is Sanders did actually run really well. Set 13 for 96 yards and a touchdown. Caught his 2 targets for 9 yards. That is not bad. We're used to seeing Sanders basically do really nothing on his touches, but 7.4 yards per carry, that's huge for him. So moving forward, I think you could kind of expect Sanders to get the full workload between him and Gainwell, and kind of just something positive to look forward to. And on Detroit side of the ball, receiving wise, it was Amon St. Brown that was, the league in target getter at 12 targets. It caught 8 for 64 and a touchdown. DJ Chark, which we thought would be involved, was involved. He caught 4 catches for 52 and a touchdown as well. So outside of that, pretty much all you can really look at as far as the Philly-Detroit game goes. There was a lot of good to happen out of there. A lot of stuff we kind of expected. The biggest surprise, I think, to me would have been the Sanders workload, because every year he's kind of up and down. But we'll also move over to the Houston side of the ball, which is my team. Love Texans, which is crazy to say. I'm not embarrassed to admit that, but they look good today. They ended up freaking tying. They ended up in a tie with the Colts. But hey, we didn't start 0-1 like we do most years. So you know what? 0-1 looks better on the scoreboard. So finished 2020, Houston side of the ball. We look good. Overall, Mills, 242 touchdowns. Pretty good. Decent stats against any no picks, which was nice to see. Cooks was the leading guy at 7 for 82, no touchdowns. The big surprise for me was the recent addition of OJ Howard. We did hear a lot of talk about Brevin Jordan as that tight end one for the Texans. They went and scooped up OJ Howard as soon as he got released by the Bucks, and he scored 2 touchdowns today. 2 for 38 on 4 targets, or so both of his targets. Big red zone threat. That's exactly what he was in Tampa Bay. So it's just something to look forward to. He is going to make probably my waiver wire article this week. I mean, why not? A guy, big bodied receiver like that in the red zone. The Texans can move the ball. They always have been able to with Mills running the show. The biggest disappointment, on the other hand, is my man, Dameon Pierce. I'm not buying into it too much. Still had double-digit touches for 33 yards. Not great, 3 yards per carry. I think it was just a fact of the matter is, I think Lovie Smith had relied more on Rex Burkhead because of the whole he's a veteran rather than leaning on the rookie. I mean, Burkhead did have 14 catches for 40 yards, or 14 rushes for 40 yards, but overall, at the end of the day, Burkhead is the receiving back, is what we always knew of him. He caught 5 for 30, was targeted 8 times, 8 times in this offense. So being the fact that the game was close, it was kind of Burkhead was out there to kind of be that 3-down kind of workhorse. I'm not too worried about it. I still think that Dameon Pierce is the guy in this offense moving forward. I wouldn't be jumping ship on Pierce this quickly. And on the Indy side of the ball, you know what? Matt Ryan didn't look too bad. 350 plus yards, 1 touchdown only. And that 1 touchdown was to, of course, who we thought his number 1 receiver would be, is Michael Pittman. 9 for 121 and 1 touchdown. Surprising stat here was the amount of work we saw Hines get. We saw him get targeted 6 times, and he was 6 for 50 yards through the air and had 3 rushes for 4 yards. Jay Taylor, I'm not going to really touch too much on that. We know every week he's a must start, no matter what. 31 for 161 yards today and 1 touchdown. So still a beast. Paris Campbell, I kind of tooting his horn a little bit throughout the season. Still didn't do too much, so I'm not really expecting much from him moving forward. But as far as everything goes, not too much else out there besides the main guys that we talked about, that we would talk about regularly when it comes to fantasy. And that's, Jay Taylor, Michael Pittman, Matt Ryan. If he continues to throw the ball 50 times a game, he's very much, 2 quarterback leagues, you're obviously starting him. Single quarterback leagues, you're maybe looking at him as a streaming option, depending on matchup. But 32 passes for 352, 1 passing touchdown, 1 interception. So if Matt Ryan has time to throw the ball, he's going to be able to connect with his receivers. So that's the biggest thing. So now we'll move over to the Cleveland-Carolina game, which was a game that I was really, really looking forward to. I was really excited because Baker Mayfield had came out and said, I'm going to kick their asses. Well, you know what? Unfortunately, Baker, you did not get that satisfaction, as you did fall victim to them, 26-24. But at the end of the day, on the Cleveland side of the ball, well, let's just talk about Baker Mayfield. He came out to play. He basically gave it his all, no matter what. The Browns defense was legit today. They've been good. Myles Garrett got at him. The pressure on him was ridiculous. The fact of the matter is Baker Mayfield went for 235, 1 passing touchdown, and rushed 1 in. So ran 1 in. So, he wanted this game more than anybody on this field today. He did hit Robbie Anderson with a sweet 75-yard bullet today, which Robbie Anderson looked unreal. 5 for 102 and 1 touchdown. But like I said, his longest one was 75 yards. But a touchdown's a touchdown, yards are yards, catches are catches, right? So Baker didn't really seem to have too much connection with anybody on the field. So I'm not even recommending him to be a streaming option moving forward. Christian McCaffrey, big disappointment today. For those that drafted him probably 1 or 2 in fantasy, 10 for 33 yards and 1 touchdown. Sure, you got the touchdown, so you got the points, but the 3.3 yards per carry, 10 yards or 33 yards rushing, not great. And only caught 4 balls for 24 yards. So maybe kind of easing them back into things, but we're starting to see a little bit too that when they do fall behind, they're not really relying on McCaffrey as much as they used to be, where back in the day he'd be still seeing 25 to 30 touches a game, or touches a game, and that's not what they're doing anymore. So I think they've kind of learned a little bit that you can't really rely on McCaffrey. He's a little bit of a, I don't know, you run him out there too much, he's going to get hurt. You don't want to you want to hold back on that from happening. So as far as the receivers go, we didn't see much of DJ Moore. I was high on him this year. Not much happening there. I just think game script wise kind of took him out of the game, and Robbie Anderson just happened to be the guy. So on the Cleveland side, Brissett, 147 yards, 1 touchdown, no big deal. Biggest surprise to me was the running game. I mean, we always knew that Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt were probably one of the best, if not the best, running back duo in fantasy football, or in football in general. Chubb went 22 for 141, no touchdowns, but we saw Kareem Hunt 11 for 46, 1 touchdown on the ground, and also caught 4 for 24 and 1 through the air. So Kareem Hunt continues to be a solid flex option moving forward. You're obviously running Chubb out there. On the receiving side of the ball, not too much happening out there. Mari Cooper was very non-existent, 3 for 17. I'm still going to wait a week before I start demanding people, start dropping anybody on this offense. Let's just kind of see how this plays out. Maybe it was game script. It was a close game, so they relied on the running game. The running game was working. Carolina's defense looked pretty good today, so getting after Brissett. So, I mean, let's just kind of wait and see what happens as far as these receivers go. I'm still confident in, Cooper. I'm still confident in Njoku, but I'm tempering my expectations a little bit, especially come week 2 next week. So let's carry on to the next game here. We have the San Francisco Chicago game. Chicago with the 19-10 victory. This game, very disappointing in my eyes. When I first saw what was going on for the weather-wise, I was like, ooh, I'm staying away from everybody. Big injuries when it came to this game was Elijah Mitchell went out with a knee injury. Huge blow to the Niners run game. But Jeff Wilson did come in and kind of carry that workload. Didn't do too much. It was Trey Lance that was the leading rusher in this one, 13 for 54. But really, Debo continued to just step in when they do need those big plays, those big rushing plays, those big passing plays. It seems that Debo is the go-to guy. So, I mean, Debo was 8 for 52, did score that one lone rushing touchdown. And outside of that, nothing else had really happened in the rushing game. Now, moving forward if this is, which it appears to be a serious injury for Elijah Mitchell, who is going to be the guy to moving forward? Is it going to be Jeff Wilson? He was only 9 for 22 today. Not great. Are they going to give Jordan Mason, I think that's the name, Jordan Mason, a shot at it? I think they will, since he was so good in preseason. Or are they going to give Davis Price a shot come next week? Keep an eye on this. I mean, I'll still be dropping a show out this week as well, as far as waivers go, and updates on injuries and all that stuff like that. So just keep an eye on that, and we'll let you guys know moving forward. Justin Fields, on the other hand, looked quite good when it came to, 121, 2 passing touchdowns. It took him a little while to get going. That was, I think, pretty much due to the fact the field conditions were trash. Big surprise for me in this one was the rushing game when it came to Montgomery and Khalil Herbert. 17 rushes for Montgomery for 26 yards. Terrible. 1.5 yards per carry. Brutal. And we heard this all offseason. We heard Khalil Herbert this. Montgomery did not look good today. So Khalil Herbert goes 9 for 45, 1 touchdown on the ground. Caught 1 for -2 through there. No big deal. But as far as that goes, watch out for that moving forward. Khalil Herbert seems to be the more explosive back, the more productive back. If this continues moving forward, we could see this, the carries moving forward to a 50-50 split nonetheless. So now on the San Fran side of the ball too, Trey Lance looked like he struggled a little bit, second-year quarterback. His playmaking ability, we've seen it, and I think everyone got excited about it. But if at the end of the day, there's nothing saying that Lance isn't the guy, but 13 for 28 for 164. It doesn't matter if it's windy or not. Lost a starting running back. Those aren't great stats, but it's also week one. I mean, week one, a rookie finally taking the reins, or second year rookie taking the reins in Chicago, where the weather is absolutely abysmal. Give it time. I still think Trey Lance is the guy. I just think today, I think the Bears were just a more disciplined team, and that's how they got the victory. Another shocking thing was as far as target share went for the 49ers, Juwan Jennings, 4 for 62. Just something to keep an eye on. Not rostered in many fantasy leagues, but just something to keep an eye on moving forward. Jacksonville and Washington. This was a game I was actually watching a little bit, quite a bit actually, just to kind of see what the output would be for, Trevor Lawrence. Lawrence 275, one passing touchdown. Okay, but I mean, it's not even 50% of pass completion, so that's not good. All this hype about Travis Etienne coming in and, being the guy in the running game and everything like that. Well, he laid a huge goose egg today. The plays that I saw him play, I mean, drop passes, did not look good. J-Rob still continues to look like the guy. He led the team in rushing yards, 66 yards on 11 rushes today, ran a touchdown in. On top of that, had another receiving touchdown. So I think it's still J-Rob's gig. I think coming off of that injury, I still do think that they haven't given up on him. So Jay Robinson is, I think, as of now, I think he's still startable in my opinion until I see anything different. Etienne, I'm kind of tempering my expectations on just because of the stats that he did put out. But the new addition for Trevor Lawrence's new toy is Christian Kirk, 6 for 117 yards on 12 targets. You could fire up Christian Kirk every day or every week as a wide receiver 2 in fantasy, because he's still going to get, no matter what, the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be down in many games, and you're going to see Lawrence tossing the ball a lot. I think that's where you're going to see that's why you're going to be able to see Christian Kirk. Someone's got to catch the ball there. Christian Kirk looks like clearly has got that nice rapport chemistry with Trevor Lawrence. And now on the Washington side of the ball, Carson Wentz, up and down, but 4 passing touchdowns. I mean, if you started him in fantasy, you're loving life right now. 27 for 41, 313, 4 touchdowns, 2 picks. But I mean, that's Carson Wentz in a nutshell. Rushing game, Antonio Gibson. Everyone was down on him preseason. Fair enough. Had fumbling issues and stuff like that. Went 14 for 58 on the ground. 7 for 72 through the air, which was a huge thing on 8 targets. Was big because all you really heard about all year, all season long was, how much they're going to use J.D. McKissic. Now, McKissic wasn't even, I mean, he was targeted 3 times in the passing game for 20 yards, rushed 3 times. As of right now, until Brian Robinson does come back, when he comes back, and I think a latest report I saw earlier was week 5 as a possibility. As of right now, you can fire A. Gibson up as your RB1 because he's still going to get action in both the rushing game and the passing game. Big surprise for me, a couple big surprises on the offensive side of the ball for Wentz was Curtis Samuel, 8 for 55, 1 touchdown through the air on 11 targets. So led the team in targets. We've heard a lot about Curtis Samuel, gadget player, right? That's all we've really heard about Curtis Samuel is he's a gadget player. Clearly showed that today. I mean, was also involved in the rush game, 4 for 17. But you know what? Jahan Dotson, rookie, looked amazing. 3 for 40 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns, 2 grabs, unbelievable grabs, I think, of the weekend. I think a couple of them, the one for sure was like the second touchdown he had was something unbelievable I've never seen before. Underneath the receiver, scooped that ball up, but he's going to definitely make my waiver wire article this week because, I mean, how do you not? I mean, as a flex-worthy play, I know you're only getting 3 for 40, but when you're in that red zone, you don't have much to throw at. Dotson has clearly gained that respect from Wentz that he's kind of a go-to. So it's just something to look forward to. Next game I have lined up here is the Pittsburgh Steelers-Cincinnati game. This game was absolutely insane. I'm going to start with the Bengals. Burrow, 4 picks today and a pick 6 on top of that. If you had started him in fantasy, you were crying earlier on in the year or earlier on in the game. So, but still threw 2 touchdowns, still won the game. Mixon looked great, 27 rushes, 82 yards. Chase, just a beast. I mean, what more do you want from him, right? 10 for 129, 1 touchdown, made big plays in overtime when he needed to be. Unfortunately, they lost T. Higgins to a concussion. So just something to look forward to, just something to look ahead to, not forward to, but look ahead to. You did see a little bit more action from Tyler Boyd in this one, 4 for 33 and 1 touchdown. So it's another guy you could probably look forward to because he's probably not highly rostered because of the fact of Jamar Chase and Higgins, but just something to look forward to when it comes to, if he happens to be on your waiver wire, somebody you should try to look at. Just keep an eye throughout the year to see how, or out the season to see how major Higgins' injury was. But as far as tight ends go, Hayden Hurst seems to do what he did, 5 for 46 on 8 targets. So another guy you got to kind of look forward to if you don't get. We've always talked about how the tight end position is very narrow when it comes to the top 5, and then from 6 all the way down to 20, you never know who's there. Hayden Hurst is a guy that you could probably stream every week, especially in an offense that throws the ball as much as Cincinnati does. Pittsburgh looked like Pittsburgh. I mean, Harris, big injury to this one is Najee Harris left this game with a knee injury. Didn't look good at all. I believe it looked like an MCL. So wait and see what happens with that. Jaylen Warren, on the other hand, stepped in. Didn't do too much, but we heard a lot of hype through him throughout preseason. Just something to keep. If this injury is labeled serious, which I do expect to be, a couple week, 2 to 3 week, or probably even longer than that injury. Jaylen Warren is a guy you're going to want to look for on the waiver wire, which is probably owned in less than 1% of leagues. So pretty much virtually everywhere you could be able to get him. So just some guy you might want to prioritize when it comes to your waivers. Pat Freiermuth did seem to be like a, security blanket for Freiermuth. Or for Trubisky, 10 targets, 5 catches for 75 yards. Deontay Johnson, 7 for 55. Didn't do too much with those. So Trubisky, 21 of 38, 194. Okay. I still do think that Pickett should be the guy in this offense. Sure. They did lose. They did win this game, but Trubisky isn't the one that made the plays in order for that to happen, in my opinion. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see what happens with that. But like we were talking earlier, if anybody tuned in earlier to Riley and I talking starts and sits this morning, basically Pickett should be the guy. But if they're in a win, if they're on if they have a winning record, they're not going to be putting Pickett in. And latest report I saw today was the plan was to have Pickett sit all year. So I can't see that. If you're a team that's down, if you're a 2-6, 2-7 team, why are you sitting your rookie running back or quarterback when you could be moving that ball a lot better? So I doubt that's going to happen, but we did see Chase Claypool lead this team in rushing at 6 for 36, but like I said, didn't do too much. So, and outside of that, just, the main guys for Cincinnati are going to just fire out every week and kind of don't worry about that moving forward. So Baltimore and the Jets, this Baltimore game was, I don't know, Lamar Jackson, they should just paid him now because you know what's going to happen when it comes to, at the end of the day, Lamar Jackson is going to put up numbers like we've never seen. And to my surprise, I've always been one that said, oh, Lamar Jackson, they just do nothing but throw the ball, whatever. Lamar Jackson can't throw it. No, Lamar Jackson just threw for 213, 3 touchdowns today. 2 of those touchdowns going to Devin Duvernay, another guy that you might want to keep an eye out for on waivers. I understand it's Devin Duvernay, but 4 targets, 4 catches for 54 and 2 touchdowns. Lamar's looking his way quite often. Andrew's not that great, 5 for 52, great on 7 targets, but didn't, nothing too much from that. But Rashad Bateman, those Rashad Bateman truthers out there should be a little concerned right now. There was talk about him breaking out. He had a terrible drop earlier on in the game, and I'm glad they went back to him on this, 55-yard touchdown catch or late in the game. But I mean, I still do believe in Bateman. He's still legit. We've seen what he can do, but I mean, to me right now, the trust is in Devin Duvernay. So I've kind of Duvernay is going to be a guy you kind of look forward to moving forward. And as far as the rushing game goes, I thought it was a Mike Davis game. Clearly, they went and got Kenyon Drake for a reason. 11 rushes, didn't do too much with them, 31 yards. But I mean, they can't wait. Once this, could you imagine once Dobbins gets back, how unreal this Baltimore offense is going to be? They're going to be pretty ridiculous. So on the Jets side of the ball, I mean, really, if you look at it at the end of the day, they put up 9 points, big deal. But a few takeaways from this, fantasy relevant ones. I'm not even going to talk about Joe Flacco, big deal. 300 yards, 1 touchdown, blah, 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 blah. It was Michael Carter. All this hype in preseason about Breece Hall being the guy, Breece Hall this, Breece Hall that, they did draft him high. We can't forget that Michael Carter was unreal last year before his injury. Came in today. I mean, they pretty much split. I mean, it was Carter led the team in rushing at 10 with Hall at 6. But, Breece Hall or Carter went 10 for 60. And he went 7 for 40 through the air on 9 targets. So clearly we knew that Michael Carter was going to be the passing down back. But 20 touches period, or pretty much, 17 touches in this game. He produced good numbers, 100 total yards. Didn't find the end zone, but I think we kind of can't really count out Michael Carter when it comes to this running game. So moving forward, I temper I mean, if you drafted Hall where you did, I guess you're firing him out there, but I got Michael Carter in a dynasty league. I have no issue firing him up as a, RB2 moving forward until I see things change. And in the receiving side of the ball, Corey Davis led this team 6 for 47 or 6 for 77, followed by Garrett Wilson. Elijah Moore was targeted heavily in this game, but didn't really do 5 for 49. Didn't really do too much. But I should mention too, actually, I didn't even realize this. I wish I would have saw this earlier. Between the running backs, they combined for 19 total targets. Breece Hall was actually the most targeted running back in this offense, but I do think that's because when they did fall behind, I think that Hall was used a little bit more heavier. But right now, I think this is, we talked about this. It's going to be a 1A, 1B situation moving forward. So over to the next game here, we'll talk some New Orleans, Atlanta game, 27-26 New Orleans win. Winston, a couple touchdowns today. Taysom Hill was the leading rusher in this one, 4 for 81, and looked good doing it. So Taysom Hill is still going to be a thing moving forward. Kamara didn't do too much, 9 for 39. Didn't really do too much through the air neither. Nothing really too exciting about this Saints offense. Jarvis Landry, 7 for 114 on 9 targets. So it's just Landry would be most likely a flex option. Michael Thomas did score 2 touchdowns, so that was nice to see Thomas get back in the end zone in this game and just get back into playing in general. Still faced 8 targets, 5 catches for 57. Another wide receiver 2/3, in my opinion, could be a wide receiver 1 later in the year when he's trusted upon a little bit more. So the Atlanta side of the ball, Mariota looked good. 200 yards passing, just over 200 yards passing. Cordell Patterson, Tyler Algier was a healthy scratch. So Cordell Patterson moved him up in my rankings, 22 rushes for 120 yards. He continues to just do what he does, and that's just run the ball, catch the ball, pretty much do everything in this offense. You can fire him up every single week. On the receiving side, Drake London led this team in receiving yards, 5 for 74 and 7 targets. Look good on top of that, too. I mean, there was talk about, his knee injury earlier on in preseason. Did come back, had no issues. Pitts was not great. 7 targets, only caught 2 balls for 19 yards. Just bear with this, guys. It's week 1. Let's not jump ship on any of these guys yet. So, KC manhandled the Arizona Cardinals 44-21. Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, what? 5 passing touchdowns in this one. 1 to Kelsey, 2 to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, which was crazy. 1 to McCole Hardman, who did pretty much nothing, and 1 to Fortson. So couple takeaways here. Firing Mahomes up no matter what. Let's go to the rushing side of the ball. We heard a lot of hype about Isaiah Pacheco. He went 11 for 62 on the ground. Also ran in for touchdowns. So, I mean, I we're almost leaning towards the fact that this could eventually be a committee approach. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire went 742. We did see McKinnon in there as well. On the receiving side of the ball, Kelsey, of course, led this receiving corps. Juju Schuster, 79 yards on 8 targets. And then outside of that, it was kind of just mixed upon everybody. Mahomes said right at the beginning, it's not going to be just a Kelsey show. Kelsey did only receive 9 targets. We're used to seeing double-digit targets for him. He did look like he spread the ball around the field quite a bit. And, I mean, that's what he did. So, I mean, moving forward, I think you're still firing up Kelsey. You're obviously firing up Kelsey. When it comes to receiving side, I think the only guy I'm really confident in based on volume in this game would be Juju Smith-Schuster. So that's as far as the receivers go, that's where I would lean with that. Now on the Arizona side of the ball, Murray, 193, 2 touchdowns. Okay, led the team in rushing. No rushing game whatsoever in this one. Oh, I mean, Connor had 10 for 26, big deal. Did have his touchdown. Kind of that's what we've known James Conner to be, not be a big, just score touchdown. That's kind of all he does. So, receiving side of the ball with Rondale Moore, we did hear talk about Greg Dortch come in. Greg Dortch had 12 targets, I believe. 9 targets, 7 catches for 63 yards. Keep an eye on what's happening with Rondale Moore. The fact that DeAndre Hopkins will still be out for 5 games. Somebody maybe you should look at, maybe if you're desperate in a flex position, if they're going to be throwing the ball a lot, which they most likely should, somebody's got to catch it there. And I mean, Marquise Brown went 4 for 44, did get that lone touchdown, or did get a touchdown. And Zach Ertz just 2 for 14 and a touchdown. If you had him in leagues like I did, in a few leagues, you're just happy with that 1 touchdown. I mean, he came in banged up, kind of wasn't sure what was happening with him. So AJ Brown, quiet. Isabella, not much happening on this offensive side of the ball. Worries me, to be honest with you, because we're still not quite sure what's happening with this run game. I mean, if they're playing with the lead, who is going to be that main guy? We're not sure. So as far as moving forward, I mean, you're still firing up Marquise Brown. You're still firing up Connor. I mean, seems to be touchdown dependent. That's really all he's been doing. And you're still firing Murray out there no matter what. New York Giants, Tennessee Titans. The Giants squeaked one out 21-20. And you know what? Barkley is back, baby. I loved it. Love seeing this. 18 for 164, 1 rushing touchdown. I mean, he also got 6 balls for 30 yards, almost 200 scrimmage yards for Saquon Barkley. I personally won. I've been a truther. I drafted him in many leagues. A lot of my buddies can attest to this. I had no problem drafting him in early second rounds of drafts. People were letting him slide. I was more than happy to take him there. I believe in him. I've seen what he did in college. Obviously had a couple bad outings in the last couple of years with injuries, but I do believe that Barkley is back, and I think Barkley is going to be the biggest difference when it comes to this team. On the receiving side of the ball, just number one, Daniel Jones is not going to be the starting quarterback for this team next year. I'm sorry. They could finish with a winning record. He's still not going to be the guy. I mean, he only threw for 188, 2 passing touchdowns, 1 being to Sterling Shepard, 2 for 71 for 1 touchdown. And you know what? Just basically spread the ball to pretty much Shepard, Richie James, and Saquon Barkley. That's it. Galladay is droppable, in my opinion, on any fantasy league. And Wan'Dale Robinson, unfortunately, left this game. I mean, he was only targeted once, but the highly touted rookie for this offense left early in this game. So we're going to wait and see what happens moving forward. Tennessee side, Derrick Henry, quiet game as far as Derrick Henry goes, only 21 for 82. Didn't see much action in the pass game. I actually saw no action in the pass game. Dontrell Hilliard, on the other hand, seemed to be a red zone target for Tannehill. I mean, he caught 3 balls for 61 yards, 2 touchdowns, and also rushed the ball 2 for 8 yards. So, I mean, Dontrell Hilliard moving forward, just somebody to keep an eye on. If this volume continues moving forward, maybe somebody, especially when it comes to bye weeks, or if there's an injury, kind of shows that, Hilliard would be would be that guy next in line if there was happened to be an injury to Derrick Henry. Rookie Kyle Phillips, 6 for 66 yards on 9 targets, seems to be a favorite target for Tannehill. We talked about it earlier this week too. I mean, Woods seemed to be the number one there, but they drafted Kyle Phillips and they were really high on him when they drafted him. So I think Kyle Phillips is also another guy you could kind of, don't go out there to spend a whole bunch of money. I'm saying if you got a spot on your roster and you need, and on your bench and you need a guy, Phillips is the guy. But as far as tight ends go, Austin Hooper did absolutely nothing in this offense. This offense is pretty much not great in my opinion as of right now. So Packers Vikings game. I could be, this episode could get dropped and I could probably tell you maybe Aaron Rodgers possibly retired after this game, but I couldn't be sure. But you could tell he showed frustration on the field all game long. 195 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. You know what? None of these guys performed well. And it clearly looks like, the Devontae Adams was that go-to guy when it came for Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers didn't look comfortable with anybody. I could just imagine him in the locker room right now, just ripping into everybody. Complete douchebag, in my opinion. Great quarterback, but as far as a teammate goes, I could see him being a complete douchebag. So, but rushing side of the ball, we knew it would be kind of a split between both AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones. A little bit more. It was 2-1 for AJ Dillon, 10 rushes for him for 45 yards. Had that rushing touchdown. A Jones 5 for 49. And also Dillon caught 5 for 46. So AJ Dillon, we knew this going into it was going to be a solid flex play move all season long. They're going to run these guys out of 1A, 1B systems. So, and nobody really stepped up in the receiving game. So that's going to be another week experiment we're going to want to see. I know Watson did drop Christian Watson, the highly touted rookie that they had drafted, did drop a ball earlier on in the game, and pretty much that was all that Aaron Rodgers really looked at him. That was it. After that drop, he kind of was non-relevant. So Minnesota, I mean, Cousins 2 for 77, 2 passing touchdown. Dalvin Cook, same guy, 20 for 90, legit. Justin Jefferson 9 for 184, 2 touchdowns. I mean, unstoppable. We could go back to talking about the Bills and the Rams game. O'Connell goes from the Rams to Minnesota. Jefferson says, now I can see why Cooper Kupp got open. Clearly, that's exactly what happened because out of his 11 targets, he caught 9 for 184 and 2 touchdowns. Jefferson's going to finish as a top 3 wide receiver this year, if not number 1. Moving forward. I mean, when you can't cover Cousins or when you can't cover Jefferson, the only Cousins look in one way, and that's the Jefferson. So everybody else, Adam Thielen, Cook caught a few balls. Not really much else to really talk about as far as this game goes. And then go to our last game of the night would be the Chargers and the Raiders game, 24-19. Keenan Allen left this game with an injury, hamstring injury. So we kind of thought it would be a Mike Williams game. Well, to be honest with you, Mike Williams caught 2 balls for 10 yards on 4 targets. A bunch of no-name dudes. Herbert spread this ball around well. Keenan Allen left this game when he was 4 for 66, but he was targeted, the 4 times. And then there was Carter. Everett caught 3 for 54 for 1 touchdown. Everett's going to be a guy that you could stream, if not start every single week, because we know that Herbert's always going to look at his tight end. So Everett, I think, is a great signing. Eckler, on the other hand, not Eckler type numbers. I mean, 70, 73 yards, 72 yards, total scrimmage yards on 18 touches is unlike him. But I kind of think just the game script was going. Herbert was 279 for 3 touchdowns. So not too much else to talk about. Mike Williams is, like I said, was quiet. That was probably one of the biggest disappointments. And Devontae Adams clearly was the biggest addition to the 17 targets that he had today. Adams is his guy. Carr's the man. Loves him. 2 passing touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Jacobs 10 for 57 kind of led the way. Not really much else to talk. Darren Waller looked good. 6 targets, 4 catches for 79 yards. So I mean, he's still legit. He just signed an extension as well. I was a little nervous starting him this week just because I wasn't quite sure. He didn't really do anything in the preseason or wasn't practicing, but I think he's going to be fine moving forward. To me, unfortunately, especially if guys that are in PPR leagues, is the amount of targets for Hunter Renfrow. Only 3 catches for 21 yards on 6 targets. We're used to seeing him in the uptick of probably double-digit targets. We knew he would lose some of that to Devontae Adams, but wasn't really looked at all in this offense. But moving forward, I think the Raiders are going to be a team, a legit team. They're good defensively. I mean, they ran into a Chargers team right now. Herbert's just too good. Probably a favorite to win the Super Bowl this year. So, outside of that, guys, you know what? That is my week 1 recap. I will jump on board again maybe tomorrow. I got to do another episode dropping Tuesday where I'll kind of just go through the Denver Seattle game and Tampa Bay Dallas game. But outside of that, guys, I appreciate you guys all listening and take care of yourselves and peace.